Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to explore how a humble, completely unassuming garden plant actually serves as a profound living metaphor for resilience, humility, and divine design. The Dusty Miller Silver Swirl is one of those plants you've probably walked past 100 times in garden beds or landscaping. But today, well, we're going to look at it through a completely new lens. Think about it. This plant doesn't demand your attention with towering height, and it doesn't shout with overwhelmingly bright flowers. Instead, it just offers this enduring, elegant silver foliage. Picture it with morning dew resting delicately on its leaves. It quietly serves as a backdrop in nature, and as we're going to see, that unassuming nature is exactly what makes it so incredibly remarkable. This brings us to a really powerful thought from our source material. It says, humility is not weakness, but the beginning of divine workmanship. It reminds us that God often delights in taking just ordinary dust and transforming it into something truly extraordinary. So, this explainer isn't just a botany lesson. It's really about uncovering a profound spiritual metaphor that's been hiding right in plain sight. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the meaning behind the name. Let's explore the rich linguistic and biblical significance hidden within both its common and scientific names. Words matter, right? And the names given to this plant are incredibly intentional. It's fascinating how it contrasts two very distinct ideas. On one side, we have dust, which represents our humble origins, literally the very material of humanity described in Genesis chapter 2. But then we contrast that with miller. Think about what a miller actually does for a living. They take something raw and coarse, like grain, and they put it through a rigorous, grinding, refining process to make it useful. The name beautifully mirrors how life's toughest trials can act kind of like millstones, ultimately producing endurance and a highly refined character. And this poetry continues right into its specific cultivar name, silver swirl. In scripture, like in Psalm 66, silver frequently symbolizes redemption, purification, and value that has been proven by fire. This plant doesn't just happen to be gray. Metaphorically speaking, our source suggests it actually wears redemption. And what about swirl? Well, it suggests graceful movement. It bends instead of breaking. It evokes this unseen providence, gracefully weaving life's swirling, unpredictable seasons together into one much larger, beautiful design. Get this, even its scientific classification tells a story. The name is Jacobea maritima. Jacobea points right back to Jacob from the Bible. If you know his story, he was a man whose life was a literal swirl of wandering, struggling, and wrestling with God. His winding path is what ultimately led to his transformation. And maritima, that literally translates to of the sea. It hints at the harsh, salty, really windswept Mediterranean coastal environments where this plant naturally originated. So it's a scientific name literally born out of struggle and adaptation. Moving on to Section 2, the secret to silver. So you might be wondering, how exactly does this plant survive those harsh coastal realities while still maintaining such a striking appearance? Simply put, why is it silver? It's a compelling biological question, and it holds some really fascinating scientific facts alongside some beautiful spiritual parallels for our own lives. The answer is actually microscopic. If you were to look extremely closely at these deeply divided leaves, you'd find thousands of tiny white hairs. In botany, these are known as trichomes. They coat the entire surface. These microscopic trichomes are exactly what give the plant its striking silver color, and they're also what make it feel so incredibly soft to the touch. Now, here's the kicker. These trichomes aren't just for show. They act as both biological and spiritual armor. On a biological level, they reflect harsh sunlight, they reduce heat stress, they slow down water loss, and they even discourage insects. The source text points out something amazing here. The very feature that makes the plant beautiful is the exact same feature that protects it from the elements. And the spiritual parallel? Well, just like those tiny hairs, virtues like humility, gentleness, and patience aren't just nice, attractive qualities to have. They literally serve to protect the soul. Which brings us to Section 3, designed for difficult places. When we look at how this biological armor actually functions out in the wild, we realize this is a plant specifically designed to thrive where a lot of other ornamentals would just, give up. It tolerates extreme drought and brutal reflected heat. It survives in poor, nutrient-deprived soil and heavy coastal salt. Honestly, it even withstands simple neglect. And when all the flashy, bright flowers fade away in the colder months, it just keeps providing structural winter interest. It excels in these harsh realities not because it's inherently tougher or meaner than other plants, but because it is simply designed differently for difficult places. This brings us to a really beautiful reminder from the text. God fashions each life with unique strengths suited to different places of service. The source material uses this plant's resilience as a direct metaphor for us. It points out that faithfulness matters so much more than comparison. Whether you are called to be a towering cedar, a delicate lily, or a steadfast Dusty Miller planted in a really tough environment, your unique design is perfectly matched to your specific purpose. And just think about how this softness endures out in the garden landscape. Despite looking incredibly delicate, it almost looks like a piece of sea coral or some frosted lace. It maintains a surprising, rugged resilience. It's a really vivid reminder that true strength doesn't always look tough. Actually, more often than not, true strength is clothed in gentleness. All right, our final section, Section 4, Reflecting the Light. Ultimately, all of these unique traits come together beautifully in a real-world garden setting. The text says, "The leaves do not create light. They reflect it." I want you to really think about that. As the sunlight shifts from the morning to the evening, this plant softens and glows. The closer it is to the light, the more luminous it appears. It perfectly illustrates the biblical concept of believers reflecting a greater light, Christ's light, rather than frantically trying to generate their own brilliance. When you see it planted next to others, you realize that Dusty Miller acts as a companion rather than a competitor. Gardeners almost never plant it to be the star attraction. Instead, they use it deliberately to bring out the absolute best in everything around it. It is wild to see that companion effect in action. When you put it next to vibrant reds, purples, or pinks, it's amazing how that silver backdrop makes those other colors just absolutely pop and appear even more radiant. And it does all this without ever demanding the spotlight for itself. There is a remarkable power in becoming the backdrop that allows others to flourish. But if you want to maintain this strength in your own garden, you have to understand its care. Ironically, for all its ruggedness, the absolute easiest way to kill a Dusty Miller is by overloving it with a watering can. It requires excellent drainage, moderate watering, abundant sunlight, and plenty of room for air circulation. Just as too much water can literally destroy it, its care requirements remind us of a really profound spiritual truth. Healthy growth requires a balance. Constant comfort leaves roots shallow, while balanced discipline and the wisdom of waiting encourages deep, enduring trust. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a lingering thought to take with you today. What makes a life truly beautiful? In a world that is totally obsessed with brilliance and applause and being the star attraction, maybe true beauty isn't about outshining others at all. Perhaps it's about quietly catching the light, enduring through those tough seasons, and making everyone and everything around you just a little more radiant.